So in the last lecture, we added the functionality to read data. That's pretty good. Now let's consider a new case. Let's say in our database we had more posts than just one. Let's quickly add a second post here. So I'll add second post. Whoops. Second post. Click the plus on the right. Then give it an ID, which is second post again. Click add. And now let's add an image. And you can use any link to any image you want here or just enter nothing. Of course, no image will be displayed then, but it's only for testing purposes. I'll enter a title, which is test post, for example, and the last property, the location. Here I'm in Munich, so I'll use that. Use whatever you want. The key thing is we have two posts now. Now let's quickly call this or refresh the page, and we correctly see a second card. Now there is no image since I entered XXX, and that's why you see that failed request. Of course, that's not found. But you see the card was added. You also see an application if you refresh your IndexedDB. We have the second post here in the IndexedDB. That is working as it should. Now what happens if we for some reason would delete an entry from the database? And that's not that uncommon for dynamic data. Data changes. Now if we just change a value, let me do that first. That's not really an issue. If I do this and I reload here, if I now refresh the IndexedDB, that changed too. By the way, if it doesn't change immediately, close your developer tools, reopen them. Sometimes you then have the bug that this doesn't open. Click refresh, try again until you can open it. And then you should see that this was refreshed too. So changes are reflected because we use the put method, and the put method overrides old values. We use the put method here. So changes are reflected, but if we remove the second post, what does then happen? So now we're back to one post, and now back in our application, if I reload, we still see the second post for a brief second until the network tells us that it's not there, because we have the cached and network strategy. That's why we initially see it before the network overrides it. But the problem we face is, if I open and close the developer tools to make sure I get a really updated version of IndexedDB, here you see the second post is still in the cache. Now, therefore, if we go offline, we still see the second post. The reason for this is that put overrides the old value, but if the old value is gone, it's not removing it. It just overrides it if it's there. So if we delete a value on the database, and again, it's not that uncommon for dynamic data to change or even be removed, that's not fully reflected in our frontend database in IndexedDB. So we need a way to also handle the case that data was removed. And one easy and good way to handle this is to simply go to the service worker, and whenever we write new data into our IndexedDB here, before we do so, we could clear the entire database because we're fetching all the data we want to store anyways, so we could clear it, and then we're writing all the new entries anyways. So we would have a clear database and repopulate it every time we get back data. Now, of course, you can also write more elaborate solutions than that, and I will give you the code to both delete single items or clear the whole database, depending on which approach you want to use. Let's implement the clear database method in the next lecture.